Hey everybody, today we're going to go over how to make some rings. I'm going to give you the basic idea on how to do this. Unfortunately, I can't actually cut or drill anything right now, but I'll get you through it. It's pretty easy to understand, so I'll go slow. It's going to be a long video, but they're not that difficult to make. Just takes some time and some patience, just like everything else. So we'll get started by going over the material list. Okay, first off, we got steel. You can get it at Home Depot, Lowe's, Tractor Supply, Ace Hardware, Aco, a lot of places you can get it. I use 1/4 inch thick by 1.5 inches. The 1.5 inches gives me enough room on the sides in case I screw up. So I use that kind of steel, pretty basic. And you're not going to need a lot of it, so the rest of that steel bar is going to be good for other rings or anything else you want to make. Next is the drill, and there's two ways you can do this. You can get a big drill. I use a 7/8 size drill, and make sure when you get one it's that kind, not this wood boring kind. These are a little expensive. If you can't find one, check out your flea markets and weekend markets places and stuff like that. A lot of guys are selling old tools and drill bits and files. I get a lot of good stuff from there that normally cost a lot in the stores at flea markets. That's where I got my drill. So that's the best way to go, if you can find a large drill that'll fit your finger. If not, I'll show you a way to do it with a smaller drill, just in case. You're going to need a scribe or a pencil. I use a pencil. I don't have my normal one, which is white or gray. I have a red pencil that I'm using today. A Dremel, sander, bench grinder, a cutting tool, either a hacksaw, a bandsaw with a metal cutting blade, a 90 grinder with a cutoff wheel, something like that. And the last is hockey tape or string cord. I'll explain that at the end. So we'll go over the first part. We got our steel, and if you have a 7/8 drill, you can just go ahead and drill your hole wherever in here. Just pick a spot closest to the middle and go ahead and drill it. If not, you're going to need to find something that you can trace to get a good circle for the size of your finger. For demonstration purposes, I'm just going to use a nickel. So I'll take that and just pop that in there. There you go. So that's a starting point. If you have a smaller drill bit, what you're going to want to do is go ahead and drill a bunch of holes next to each other all along the inside. Then you can knock that centerpiece out and clean up the inside. A good demonstration for this, where I actually learned how to do this, is a guy named Weapon Collector on YouTube. He makes unbelievable knuckle dusters and brass knuckles, probably the best I've ever seen. He shows a great explanation of how to do this technique right here, a lot better than I can probably show you. This guy's made hundreds of knuckles this way, and it's amazing. So that's a way, if you can't find a big drill bit, you can do that. It works just as good. So after that, you're going to have basically a big hole in your piece of steel. The next thing you're going to want to do is get the outer ring for this part. There's two ways of doing this. You can use a pair of calipers set to 100 thou and scrape it along the inside of the hole like that, and it'll scrape on the outside and give you a nice line all the way around. Or you can freehand it. You don't need to be exact with it. You just need a good judgment of, you know, it's a basic circle. This does look very big, and it is. I'm doing that because of it's easier to see on camera. So this ring's actually a hell of a lot bigger than it will be. So after you do that, you're going to want to figure out what design you want, as in how many spikes. If you want a little tab on the end with a hole drilled in it for some cord or chain. And you're going to want to transfer that design onto your ring. We'll do a double, like so. The distance between here and here, the inside of the ring and the tip, I do a 1/2 inch. You can pick whatever you want. It really is no measurements. If you want them bigger, you know, you just extend this, come out a little wider, go up to here, and you'll have nice big spikes. That's up to you. So once you figure all that out, you're going to have basically what looks like right here. Just all this center is going to be cleared out, and you're going to have a nice hole. This next part is where the cutting tool, probably the hardest part about making these, is gonna come. You're gonna want to take your bandsaw, hacksaw. If you want to use a Dremel, it's gonna take a long time with a Dremel, but you can. What I usually use is I have this DeWalt 90 grinder that I picked up at a flea market, I think for like 20 bucks. You can buy cutting wheels with this. Same ones that are on a Dremel, they're just really big. And that blows through this steel very quickly. And what you're going to want to do is pretty much on the outside of these pieces of steel, you're going to cut there, cut there. You're going to want to make a bunch of cuts to kind of minimize the amount of material around your ring. Do you have to do this? No. Is it a lot to grind off if you don't? Hell yeah. It'll save you a bunch of time. And plus, whatever tool you have, or if you decide to go and buy one of these tools, you know, you're going to have that to use for another project. The 90 grinder was a great investment. Like I said, it cost me 20 bucks at a flea market. The cutoff wheels you can get for $4 at Lowe's or Home Depot, and they last a good while. I'm actually going to be using that when I do my kunai video, so that's something that's going to be a reoccurring tool that's great to have. And if you're going to be making a lot of your own stuff, you know, making those small investments, yeah, it's 20 bucks, but you know, if you were to buy some of this stuff from me or anyone else, you know, how much is that going to cost? So it could even out in the long run. So back to this. Once you have all that cut out, you're going to be left with a rough outer shape, and that's when you're going to take this over to your bench grinder, sander, whatever you got, and you're going to want to bring all these edges into your circle, so you have a nice smooth surface. If you freehanded your circle, that's when you have the chance to, you know, grind more on this side. Okay, that side's a little bit thicker. Let me grind over there a little bit. You know, grind here a little bit. Move it around. Take your time on it, because if you rush it, you know, you might not be happy with what you're going to get. The slower you take, the better it's going to look. That's the way I always figured. So once you have all this cut out and you have it all pretty much ground in, you got your notch cut in the center. You can cut that notch with whatever tool you use to cut the rough pieces out with. So then you're going to be left with pretty much a rough ring. After that, I tilted it on its side to the bench grinder and ground some angles on it to give it some point to it. I also, after I was done grinding it, I took it to my belt sander and just cleaned everything up, made it, smooth, tried to make it look even. It's not going to be perfect, and one of the big things that I say is, when you're making this, the smoother you get it and the more rounded the edges you get, it's going to fit a lot better on your finger. It's not going to cut you. So that, and if, like on this piece, that side sticks out a little bit. If they were to make these back in the 15th, 14th, 16th century, do you think they're going to end up being perfect? No. There's going to be little differences about them, which I think is cool because that gives each one its own, little personality. Okay, back onto this, got a little sidetracked. You finish grinding those in, polish this up. You don't need to heat treat this at all. They'll work just fine. Lastly, about the hockey tape, right here I just have blue tape just so it shows up better. This is used in case your drill bit is too big. It's much better to have a drill bit that's too big than too small, because then if it's too small and you got to regrind the inside of this, you're going to make this thinner. So if it's too big, you can always take hockey tape, string. I like to use just cotton string that you can buy in a big spool. I wrap a lot of my shuriken and throwing knives in this. You take it, and just on the very bottom, you'll just wrap some cord into it, and you can secure this with super glue. That's what I always use. Super glue is quick, cheap, and it does its job. But then you'll have a bottom piece that just has some cord on it that'll make it a much better fit. Like I said, you don't have to do this. That's in case it's a little too big and you want to tighten up the hole in the inside. But that's pretty much the basics of it. Are there any questions or anything else? I'm always willing to help. I really believe that any of this kind of information should be shared and nothing should be held back, especially in this kind of community. I think people need to be a little more sharing with their information and not say everything's a secret. So like I posted in my Facebook, I'm going to be doing a lot more of these. I'm going to be doing the kunai coming up. I'm going to be doing the katsushoge. I'm going to be doing the kama or the kusari fundo. No. Whatever. The kama, I'll probably do a video on the fundo, even though those are going to be really difficult to make. And most likely the kaginawas, which there's a bunch of designs for kaginawas, so those are going to take a couple videos, but those will be really fun to make, and I know everyone likes those. I got a couple good ways of doing them, so I think everyone should be happy. So I hope everyone enjoyed this. As always, if anyone ever makes anything that they saw in one of my videos that they made, if you can take a picture of it and send it to me, I always love to see, other people's work. And, if you want me to give you tips or whatever, no problem. So that's about it. I'll probably get started on the other video as soon as I can. So enjoy. Hopefully you guys get to make your own rings. And that's it.